Welcome to Kaleidoscope. Positive, daring, different we are, and looking at a hidden gem in London. An ancient piece of English history, St. Dunstan in the East, is a collection of majestic ruins of a church built in 1100 AD, quite severely damaged during the Great Fire of London in 1666. After World War II, it was not reconstructed, and now its Gothic-style walls, towering steeple and tower are embraced by the magical wonder of nature. To our fantastic partners on the show, Srilanka Live, CDB, The Daily Morning, thank you. We do value your partnership. Kaleidoscope is on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. And of course, if you like our show, do subscribe and follow.
You can now start a CDB iDeposit digital fixed deposit and experience a range of special benefits from CDB.
This is CDB Snapshot, where we take a quick look at the week that was. Starting off with some positives. Headline inflation based on the CCPI decreases to 6.3% in July compared to June's reduction of 12%. Food inflation decreases to minus 1.4% in July from June's 4.1%. The balance in Sri Lanka's merchandise account in June is a deficit of $364 million compared to last June's surplus of $22 million. The US Federal Reserve raises its benchmark interest from 5.25% to 5.5%, the highest level in 22 years. The world is heating up. July was the planet's hottest month in 120,000 years. US swimming superstar Katie Ledecky surpasses Michael Phelps for the most world title. Sun bears are not humans in costumes. Videos showing a bear standing very much like a human sparked the debate.
You focus on your goals. We will take care of the risks. Srilanka Life.
Welcome to Srilanka Life News Capsule. Sri Lanka needs investors more than ever, but is the recipe right? One investor who has continued to invest in Sri Lanka for nearly 2 decades in the most challenging of circumstances is the CG Group, headed by Nepalese billionaire Binod Chaudhary. The group's foray into hospitality began with the investment in the Taj Samudra right in the middle of the war, and later on into 14 properties, as well as more recently Union Bank of Colombo. Its global footprint is at 159 hotels across 107 destinations, and by opening the 100th hotel in India, it becomes the largest hospitality group in South Asia. We caught up with the MD and CEO of CG Corp Global and CG Hospitality, Rahul Chaudhary, when he was in Colombo this week. Rahul, good to have you in Sri Lanka. You know, despite everything just going pear-shaped for Sri Lanka in the last few years, you've always said that you have great confidence in Sri Lanka, or the CG Group has. Why is that?
Confidence in the market has not changed at all, because we have always said that the fundamentals of this country are in place. It's a question of the global scenario that also affects Sri Lanka. I mean, like I always mention, that tourism sector is a very, very sensitive sector, which is first affected by any crisis all over the world, but also the first sector that shows coming out of these unfortunate situations, because we are a resilient sector. But Sri Lanka, from its offerings, means product, from its tourism offerings, the cultural triangles, the beaches, just everything. Everything is in place. But I think the only thing that needs to be done, the infrastructure, and most importantly, the brand. If you can get these two right, Sri Lanka, although in the global map, but will shine under the global map.
So there is talk of a minimum room rate policy for hotels in Sri Lanka. What is your take on that?
The minimum rate policy in this current time will benefit a few. But I would always choose to believe that you are still in a situation where You're still in a revival stage. Okay, you have survived. Now you are reviving. And the market that is traveling the most into Sri Lanka is the Indian market. And I would adopt a strategy whereby make the most of that. An Indian market is a very price sensitive market. And right now is the time to fill the hotels rather than look at or miss out on the opportunity of the inflow of the highest amount of nationality that is Indians coming in. And we believe that there should be a minimum rate for luxury hotels, no doubt. But it has to be done slightly rationally. And it has to be done at a time when you see that the market is slowly coming about with the global market also stepping in. So my view is in the short run, you have to make the most out of the pie that you already have and people that are coming in. And then transitioning towards the pie that will come in, which I foresee will start happening towards the last quarter of this year.
Your mantra, survive, revive, thrive. Where is Sri Lanka right now?
I would say towards the fag end of revive. I think we're just around the corner of starting to thrive, if you really ask me from that perspective. It's always a difficult time when you are in the revival state, but keep in mind, you have already survived, which was an even more difficult time. Now it's only going to go upward. It's just a question of time when you will start seeing the changes, and we can already see that.
And now for a quick look at the stock, oil and gold markets. At the Colombo Stock Exchange this week, the oil share price index moved up by 3%, with average daily turnover levels increasing as well. Cuts in oil production pushed WTI oil prices above $82 per barrel, and gold prices continued to edge towards $2,000 per ounce after Fitch downgraded the United States AAA credit rating. Last week, Verite research revealed that the implementation of a whopping 71% of the highest value expenditure proposals in 2022's interim budget remains unknown. Tracking 24 expenditure proposals and 5 regulatory proposals across 21 ministries and departments, findings showed a cool 50.5 billion rupees behind these proposals. There's a serious problem of undisclosed information, with over 46.8 billion rupees in taxpayer money being unaccounted for. 2/3 of the proposals cannot be monitored because of undisclosed information. A measly 4% of the proposals were fulfilled completely, with another 4% being partially fulfilled and about 4% more being substantially fulfilled. It's a mammoth phenom. There was an elephant gathering very unusually in Batticaloa. It looked like an extended family reunion and definitely very extraordinary for this part of the country. Last month, tens of thousands of dead fish washed up on the beaches of the Texas Gulf Coast due to low levels of oxygen in the water. Did you know that Asia's only cowboy is Sri Lankan? Meet Thai Nitti, a horse-loving 10-gallon hat-wearing cowboy with over 3 decades of experience in horse wrangling and training. Thai spends his time riding, breaking, training and schooling horses in his horse ranch in Apple Valley, California. His equine services have been utilized by the Hollywood elite, including training for films and even been on the silver screen. And here's Thai in Sri Lanka at the Ceylon Riding Club at the port city in Colombo. And thanks to the Ceylon Riding Club, I lassoed an interview with him before he rides off back to Apple Valley. Welcome, Thai. Lovely to have you in Sri Lanka.
Glad to be here.
What are you seeing of Sri Lanka from your horse training eyes?
There's a great number of opportunities here for Sri Lanka to enhance its horse culture. All we need is a good platform to start on, and I think this could be getting back to a very rich heritage of horse culture in Sri Lanka, and I think in this time it's very necessary.
You mentioned earlier in our chat that we had a horse culture or history that goes back 2,000 plus years. How come?
The earliest documentation of horses, the actual physical documentations that we have, is from 200 BC. And that comes from the Ptolemaic Egyptian times. And they have written documents on vases that the Egyptians and the Romans and the Greeks were trading horses with Sri Lanka for cinnamon and pearl and peacock. And as they've actually given the exact location that they used to bring the horses into, which is now called the Gulf of Mannar. And I believe there was an ancient city called Kudurai Malay. I believe that means horse city or horse town. Pretty much every kingdom in Sri Lanka had horses. They had horse cavalries. To name a few, the Batiklo Kingdom, the Jaffna Kingdom, the Kandy Kingdom, they all had cavalries, not just elephants, as vanguards. So this is what I mean by a very rich heritage that Sri Lanka has. And a part of my journey here is to tell the story that we were great horsemen at one time, and we lost it. Now I want to get it back.
But what really pushed you into training horses?
Because ever since I was a kid, when I was we used to go ride horses in Nurelia, Kandy, and then when I immigrated to America, I got the chance to be a cowboy at a very young age, and I had worked with a lot of cowboys and got smitten by the cowboy way of life, and I decided this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
How did you connect with the Ceylon Riding Club?
In 2018, I was able to pay a visit to the CRC, which is the Ceylon Riding Club that was in Piliundala at the time. And I met Enika, a wonderful lady, great passion for bringing horsemanship to Sri Lanka. With her help, I'm here now.
You're renowned for your work worldwide. You've traveled the world, you work in Hollywood, everybody's dream, really. How does that feel?
It's a humbling sensation. Working with Hollywood it's like a dream come true. You get to meet amazing people. And sometimes you can be starstruck, but you have to be that consummate professional and do your job and keep everybody safe. It's a wonderful, wonderful industry to work in.
There's been a lot of discussion about animal abuse when it comes to breaking and training horses. What's your take on this?
Is there abuse in training horses? Absolutely. But I think majority of that has to do with the lack of knowledge or greed. Greed in a sense where people just want to make money off of their animals and they'll force the situation and the animal suffers. And the lack of knowledge is people do what they saw somebody else do, but they don't understand the entire concept of that training method. So of course horses get injured. Always with horses especially, least is best.
Do you think the horse ranch business has scope in Sri Lanka?
To be a cowboy, you don't just have to be from Texas or California. You can be a cowboy anywhere in the world. And as far as ranching goes, for Sri Lanka, the flora and fauna, in a sense, flora is so amazing in this country that ranching has so much potential. And it's a great way for young people to start. You keep your kids in livestock, they'll stay out of trouble. I promise you that.
Today I'm at Paradise Road Galleries looking at, interacting with and colliding with art. R.M. Naim is a Pakistani-based artist, but he's been painting here in Sri Lanka for a few months now. And this collection of artwork named Yatra, it's a spiritual journey that he has been on in this country. Created during the artist's brief sojourn in Sri Lanka, Yatra dives into the depths of our relationship with the environment to meditate on coexistence, inhibitions and desire, and to understand how our own experiences shape our interpretation of what we see and feel. Naim's work weaves in and out of time, histories, cultures and geographies to come to an equilibrium that is universal but is also personal. Naim is an artistic talent who received the Presidential Award for the Pride of Performance this year. He's also been a part of the permanent faculty at the National College of Arts in Lahore after graduating since 1994. Within the past 27 years, Naim held 19 solo exhibitions in both Pakistan and abroad. He was even at Paradise Road Galleries in 2006. His work has been featured globally in Asia, Europe and the USA as well as Canada, and he has received international acclaim. So if you're in town, head over to Yatra at the Paradise Road Galleries and we'll catch you next week.